Jason, as it is each and every week, the Lee Summit Town Hall podcast is brought to the good people by Budget Blinds of Lee Summit.
Budget Blinds!
Hey, did you know the Signature Series automated shades, they provide a safer environment for children and even your pets.
Our robot shade overlords have our safety in mind.
It's
All
true.
hail. We welcome the era of our robot shade overlords.
So it's that cordless nature. They're also programmable. They allow you to use your heating and cooling systems, which means your energy bills are going to be better.
So this is something you should look into. It's safer. It's better energy. It's good for the planet. It's good for your family. You need to go to Budget Blinds and check out these Signature Series automated shades.
Tell them Jason and Nick sent you.
Hello again, and welcome to Lee Summit Town Hall, a weekly podcast about what you can do to make a difference. I am Jason Norbury, and as always, I am joined by a man who closed his filing window years and years ago because she ran unopposed. It's Nick Parker, the publisher. Welcome to Lee Summit.
Yeah, there's really not a better way to describe that.
I think it's fair. It's fair. Link to Lee Summit is the source for all the news you need about this very fine city. And our unofficial sponsor today is the Highway Rest Area. I have to say, I'm like, look, when I was a kid, you go out on those highway rest areas, and it was a little dicey. It was dicey depending on where you were, what state, where you're, the quality of the thing.
Some states are better than others.
Some states are better than others. And I'm going to give the fine states of Texas and Oklahoma thumbs up. And I'm going to give an additional thumbs up to the Choctaw Nation for a very lovely rest stop just inside the Oklahoma state border.
Those are nice, well-kept areas.
Yeah, and the Texas ones, in true Texas fashion, were gigantic. The buildings were huge and new and fancy and all that. It was something, but they made a 12-hour drive with a 16-year-old boy livable, and it was all right for me.
Well, look, anything that makes that drive livable, good on you.
So, what's going on, Nick?
Jason!
Is it time?
It's our favorite time of year.
It has fully started. We've been like in the warm-ups, the little preseason action, but now it is fully silly season.
Officially election season.
Dun, 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 dun.
It's time, Jason. We can do it. So, Tuesday, filing day closed for both the municipal elections and for the R7 school board election. And can I tell you what I'm really excited about?
I'm going to assume it's the municipal judge race.
No.
That's
actually the one place I'm disappointed because, Jason, it's the only one that is unopposed.
That is true. We have multiple candidates in every single race at the city council, and we have more than the available seats in the R7 races as well. It's a very exciting time. Good on these people for stepping up to run for public office.
There we go. Judge Tobin, who filed for re-election, no one wanted to go against him, so he'll be reelected. It will happen.
You can't fight the law, man. Can't fight the law.
Can't fight the law. Can't win.
All right, so
here we go. Here we go. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
District 1. Hillary Shields, who announced long ago that she was planning to file, and she filed first day. Also filing right off the bat early was Robert Dye. And, surprise.
Coming in late,
there is a third candidate for District 1. Stephen Lambert joins the field. Jason, do we know anything about Stephen?
With a little bit of internet stalking, I believe he works in marketing in some fashion, but that's about all I got from the very small amount of time. We assume that there'll be some more social media presence and advertising materials go out. And of course, we're going to make an effort to at least communicate with each and every single of these candidates as going along. Now, District 2 has gone wide open. We started off with the first day. Roberta Goff filed. Roberta was the only candidate for a while, and in a little bit later we had Steve Lee file, and in the last week or so, we've had two more. Now we have four candidates for one seat in District 2. Timothy Shrout and Andrew Felker have filed for the seat to run. So we have a four-way race in District 2.
I was really surprised by this. I did not expect to have four people in that race. I think the way it started, the way we heard people talking, you and I try to keep our ear to the ground, as it were, to hear that. And it seemed really, really quiet in District 2. And then all of a sudden now we have four people going for that seat that's going to be vacated by Craig Faith, who has decided not to run for re-election on this one. And here's the other surprise, Jason. We thought that District 3 was going to be an unopposed race where Phyllis Edson announced she was running for re-election, but on Tuesday morning, a new name was added to that list. Rocco Florio, a doctor in the Lee Summit area, has decided to throw his name in the hat and will be running for that city council seat in District 3.
And the one race that remained unchanged over the last several weeks was District 4, where Fred DeMauro and Donnie Funk filed on that very first day, and no one has decided to join that particular party. So D4, you've got your sort of traditional two-person race. You've got an incumbent as well as a challenger. Should be something of interest there. But we went from, like, are we going to have any? Like, I mean, how many races are we going to have unopposed or not to everybody who's opposed for all the council races? Very exciting.
And this is how it should be. This is something that you and I talk about every season, that we should have multiple candidates in every race. Just like we say, everybody should get out and vote, and we should try to push those voting numbers up in the polls. Now, we're not talking about each of the individual candidates this time around. Jason, you and I are we'll be pushing out our candidate questionnaire like we do every time. We'll also be reaching out to all the candidates for interviews so that we can help the people of Lee Summit get to know these candidates a little bit better and have a better handle on the decision-making process that they have in each of these districts.
Now, if you want to have input on what we ask, what questions are important to you, I mean, we have our ideas. We talk about them on a weekly basis. But if you have them, Matt, we want you to reach out to us. We're going to put this out on a Facebook thread to try to get questions, to see what people want to hear about, what issues that people want to hear about from these candidates. And we'll hopefully get a little input on that, and that'll help impact what we put out to those candidates and get that all wrapped up.
You know, in the last few weeks, Jason, we've talked a lot about economic development policies and incentives. We've talked about working with different parts of the city around. So now it's time. Now that the filing season's over, so now everybody can get out and get those questions, and let's start asking these candidates what they're about and what they think about the issues facing the city and what's important to you. You want these people to represent you.
Right, absolutely. And we're in the midst of the last leg of the city strategic planning, the Ignite process, all that's going to come from that. It looks like, we'll touch base on this very briefly, that we're going to have a use tax on the ballot. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about, but there's more than just what we think. There's also what you guys think, and we do want to hear it. So look for that on Facebook and drop us a question, or, send us a tweet. Do whatever you need to do to get us. We will pay attention.
All right, Jason, you mentioned this just in the opening. We also have more candidates than seats available for the R7 school board. Why don't you run through those names now that filing has ended for that as well?
All right, so we ended up with a grand total of 9 candidates filing for these 3 seats.
That
so
surprises me.
That's a big, with I think, 3 I think coming in at kind of at the last minute at least, or couple 3 coming in in the last week or so. We have Megan Marshall, David Thompson, Matt Newald, Brian Osterman, Kim Fritchie, Kathy Campbell, Larry Todd Anderson, Christine Bushyhead, and Mark Leach are the candidates that file. Christine Bushyhead and Mark Leach, I think, filed pretty close to the end of the filing time, and the others, I think, had been on there for a couple of weeks, but we'll see there. There's only one incumbent filing for one of these, so there are 3 seats coming up, and only one incumbent is filed to run for re-election. That's Kim Fritchie. And this is another one where there's obviously, with 9 people filing, there's a lot of interest in the issues that are going on. So we want to make sure that we get that input. You'll have if you have questions that you want us to make sure that we raise or talk about with these candidates, go ahead and get those raised in and bring out to us so we can pass them along to our candidates.
And just like in the city council races, we will be reaching out to each of these candidates. We're going to send them our questionnaire, our list of candidates or questions that every candidate gets from us. And then we're looking either to do some interviews or maybe even a forum where we can have them on a panel and get them with all of our questions, and also give you, the public, a chance to ask those questions as well.
Right. So that's the big news for the day. As a thing, we have our filing list. We have lots and lots of candidates. That's going to be lots of interviews and time for us to go through, Nick. So we're going to have to do more work, which is always the fun time. But
this is the fun work.
But it is the fun work, but it is still work. And you know how we feel about that.
Well, and the school board is expected to approve final language for the bond issue, which will also be placed onto the ballot. So we'll come back next week and we'll talk a little bit about what that final language is and what that bond ask of the people is going to be.
Right. Now, and key thing to keep in mind, that is on Thursday, so you do have a last opportunity to go give public input on that particular issue during the public comment section of the school board meeting on Thursday, and you should go do that if you have more to give on that whole thing. So there's another thing that went on Tuesday night, and we are recording this sort of as it has starting, and we're not paying super close attention, but there's a joint R7 School Board City Council meeting at the Missouri Innovation Campus. The session seems, I guess we would call it fairly informal and kind of just informational in nature. They're going to kind of give some stuff back and forth about things that they're working on.
And, the mayor has made a point in some recent speeches and things that he wants to keep pushing that relationship between the city and the school district to improve that and get them all working on the same page. So I think this is just this conversation that they're having will probably include some of that and what he sees as far as that relationship going. Absolutely,
and keep in mind that the relationship between the city's improvement and the schools, the local schools, is something that is part of the Ignite community master plan there that they've been doing, the strategic plan. And so it is something that the community obviously wants to pay attention to as well. So hopefully this will be some good banter back and forth that they can kind of talk, get to know each other, make sure that everybody's kind of, see where everybody is standing and how they're fitting and work together in the ways that they can.
This is a real short episode this week, Jason, but I think this is the kickoff. This is what you and I really think of and get worked up for when we started this podcast, and as we continued it now looking at next week will be episode number 300.
Oh my God.
I'm excited about that, with 300 episodes of the Lee Summit Town Hall podcast. But this is what we get up for. This is we want to keep pushing people to have their voice heard, to get out and participate in the community, in government. And this is the best time. I'll say the same line I've said over and over throughout the show, which is you have an opportunity to have more impact here locally in your community than you do anywhere else. Get out, ask your questions, get your voice heard, and vote and be a part of this process.
Yeah, absolutely. And last year we had, I think, what we could widely call one of the most broadly covered, there's the phrase, most broadly covered election that we've had in a long time between the school board and the city council, for all the various and sundry issues. There was a lot of coverage from multiple sources, lots of different interviews you could watch or view or go back and check out. Obviously, of course, including the stellar and I think most superior coverage from Lee Summit Town Hall podcast. But I think we're going to have that level of coverage again. We certainly are committing to doing not only that kind of work, but even to do it better than we did last year, to ask a little bit more questions, to dig a little bit deeper, to make sure that these issues that are important to you guys are stuff that gets covered, and you have an opportunity to compare those answers so you make a decision.
My question to both the people listening, the people that are going to be voting, as well as to the candidates when we're talking about the school board election is this. Whether spoken or unspoken, the issue, everything was centered around the relationship between the school board and then Superintendent Dr. Dennis Carpenter. What is it now?
Well, now the relationship between the school board and Dennis Carpenter isn't really much of anything.
Well, but I mean, but what's that issue? So what do you as a resident, what do you as a voter have at the top of your list that you think candidates for the school board need to address, that the school board needs to address? What are those things for you? And then we want to ask the candidates the same question. What do they think those big things are? Because that era is now over. They've moved on. We're on to something new. They've announced who they want to hire for their next superintendent. So what's the next big issue for you, the voter? That's what we want to know.
Absolutely. And I think, on a really important question in there is, what is that relationship supposed to look like? What does the superintendent think it should be? What does the school board members who are currently serving think it should be? What do the candidates think that relationship should be? And how has that, how have we done that well or poorly in the last 6 years? I mean, obviously, we've had a couple of, we'll call them extremely soured relationships between the board and the superintendent have come and gone. But, what is that relationship? How does that dynamic need to work to be healthy and functional and serve the students well, which is, of course, the end goal.
So there you have it, Jason. Start the engines. Vroom. The race starts now. That'll wrap us up for this week. We will be back on Friday with a conversation, and then back again, Jason.
Deep into the silly season.
So please follow along with Lee Summit Town Hall. Subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Listen to us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'll talk to you all on Friday. Today's episode of the Lee Summit Town Hall podcast is brought to the people by our friends at Shred KC. Jason, if you're looking to change, to start living that healthy lifestyle, these are the guys for you.
They are, and they're going to do it. They're going to help you adopt those healthy lifestyles, get those new habits, get those things going without all that pesky like shame or any of that stuff that goes on. It's a positive, supportive environment to help you get to the goals that you want to have so that you feel the best that you can feel.
Real goals, real plans, none of that fad stuff. They're not giving you the fad diets. They're not giving you the crazy new fad workout. These are real plans that are going to help you get there, whether it's group classes or personal training. This is the gym for you. Head on down on 3rd Street. See our friends at Shred KC. You have been listening to Lee Summit Town Hall, a Link to Lee Summit podcast with hosts Nick Parker and Jason Norberry. A proud member of the Fredcast Network, you can subscribe to this podcast on most of your favorite podcast apps and catch us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for all the news, analysis, and conversations on the Lee Summit community. Connect with us on Facebook at Link to Lee Summit or on Twitter at LS Town Hall.